and welcome to this week's edition of SecondsOut ReFLEXions. We're here every Monday, 4:30 p.m, to look back on the weekend's boxing action. And although it seems like a lifetime ago now, there was a big show on a Thursday night in Miami, obviously timed to coincide with last night's Super Bowl. Congratulations, this is for the NFL fans out there, congratulations to the Kansas City Chiefs. And commiserations to the San Francisco 49ers, who I actually fancied to get the job done, and they were well in charge going into the fourth quarter. Got hit with the mother of all comebacks, Patrick Mahomes. All you can do is salute the man. What a genius at quarterback. That little interlude over. We'll now move on to what we're here for, which is the boxing. Great night in Miami, stacked card. Have to start at the very top with Demetrius Andrade retaining his WBO middleweight title once again against the brave but outgunned Luke Keeler. A little bit disappointed with Andrade, although he was dominant and it was a one-sided victory. He belatedly got the job done in the later rounds. Having dropped his opponent with the first punch he landed in the fight and then dropped him again towards the end of the second round, he really should have got Keeler out of there earlier. It just seemed that early success made him a bit wild with his shots and a bit over-eager, and he was swinging crazily at times, launching himself forward, overreaching. Keeler never really capitalised. He looked a bit frozen by the occasion, and probably by that nightmare start that he endured, so I have a lot of sympathy for him there. But Andrade really should have picked his punches a bit better, took his time, been a bit more poised, and really got Keeler out of there before halfway. It's not the sort of performance, because it did become tedious and a bit messy before the finish. It's not the sort of performance that's going to tempt the likes of Canelo or Golovkin into a fight with him. Not because they'd be scared that he'd win, but potentially because they'd worry that he'd make them look bad and they'd be in a boring fight. It's not going to do their stock any good to be associated with him on that form. I think Andrade may be the sort of fighter that really needs a top elite performer, however, to bring out the best in him. So it's a bit of a conundrum at the moment, but we'll wait and see how that pans out. Also on the show, we saw a couple of new champions crowned. Tevin Farmer lost his IBF super featherweight title to Jojo Diaz. Great performance from Diaz, I have to say. He was cut very early on and badly. I think it was on the left eyelid. I'll have to double check that. It's on my report on SecondsOut.com. That will be accurate. But yeah, really bad, deep cut. And commentators already, early on, the British commentators at least, started talking about the fight being stopped with an air of inevitability about it. But it wasn't, and the corner did the best job they could, and Jojo Diaz did a good job of masking the pain that he was in by taking the fight to Farmer really intelligently as well, not giving the kind of slicker, more mobile fighter enough room to implement his usual game plan. Farmer later said he hurt his hand very early on in the fight, his right hand, his jabbing hand in Battle of Southpaws, so he wasn't able to use it as effectively as normal, but he said take nothing away from Jojo Diaz, and I agree. It was a gripping fight, really interesting to watch. Diaz was quite intelligent the way he fought as well, switched well from body to head, took a lot of the steam out of Farmer early on and then came on strong in the later rounds. I think I actually had Farmer winning after 6, but the momentum was with Diaz and he capitalised on that to win a well-earned decision. So well done to him. And then the other new champion crowned is a new unified champion at Super Bantamweight and the quickest alongside Leon Spinks to win a unified world title in Muradon Akhmadaliev. I definitely got it wrong in the preview show, but I think that's right, having now heard it said many times when I watched the fight itself. The Uzbek, great amateur fighter, but only had 7 fights, professional fights coming in against relatively moderate opposition as well. And I favoured Roman to get the job done. I thought his extra top-level experience, the fact that he was on form, he'd just recently beaten TJ Dehaney in the unification scrap, won a couple of world title fights out of Japan as well, so nothing wrong with his mental strength. But he came up short against Akhmadaliev. I actually had Roman winning 7 rounds to 5 at the end, and all 3 scores in the split decision were 7-5 in rounds, 2 for Akhmadaliev, 1 for Roman. So I can't stop saying Akhmadaliev now because I've mastered it, I'm showing off. But yeah, two 7-5 scores to 1. Could have gone either way, but I think Akhmadaliev really, there it is again, I think he really sealed the victory in the second half of the fight. I think it was competitive early on, but I think he just outmanoeuvred Roman a little bit. Roman was a bit predictable, a bit straight up, and probably a bit too patient early on as well. I thought he didn't really pour it on until it was too late and there was a bit of a deficit on the scorecards. Akhmadaliev, he was mobile, he picked his punches well, and he looked like the heavier hitter at times as well. Physically strong. He did start to fade later on. He'd never been 12 rounds before, I don't think, and that showed in the later rounds. But then he really roused himself in the final round to really push on and make sure of the victory. So well done to him as well. 2 new champions crowned. I haven't got too much to say about the YouTuber fight on the show between Anderson Gibb and Jake Paul. Jake Paul crushed him, dropped him 3 times, I think, and won in the first round. Gibb just looked like he shouldn't have been in a boxing ring, like in an amateur gym, never mind on a big, high-level professional show. His balance was awful. His defence was practically non-existent. He didn't really have the sense after he got clocked early on, and it showed that he had a leaky defence and he couldn't really take Paul's power. I mean, Paul looked at least a division bigger, maybe more. Gibb didn't look like he trained particularly hard. He had a bit of an excess around the midriff, which is easy for me to say, obviously, but I'm not the one getting in the ring on a big show. He still seemed to kind of go headlong, hands down, into the line of fire, rather than kind of take his time, ease his way into the fight after getting hurt early. It all left a bit of not a sour taste, but more of a comedic effect. It's something to laugh at and then fast forward through. And that's exactly what I did. And we're going to see more of these sort of fights. All we can hope is that the level might be a little bit better next time, that these guys don't want to be embarrassed on the biggest stage and they actually put a bit more time and effort into their training. Jake Paul didn't do a lot wrong. He didn't look like a great fighter or anything, obviously, but, at least he took it seriously. He came in shape and he got the job done with a minimum of fuss. Fair play to him. He's made a lot of money and he's converted an audience that he's built up himself into, and he's monetized that audience through boxing. I've got no real quarrel with that, as long as it's not advertised too heavily as the main event of shows like this, especially not with 3 world title fights on the same card. That's all I've got to say about Miami. I'd really like your comments below. Let me know what you think of it, what you thought was the best performance on the show, what you think of the new champions. Did you agree with all the decisions? Be good to know what you think. One last thing before I go, and I'm going to keep it brief because it's not really my business, but I feel I should say something because it's all over social media now. One of our rival channels, an employee for them, some tweets that he made a number of years ago have resurfaced on Twitter and have caused a bit of a furore, I think it's fair to say. My view on it is, and again I'll keep it brief, I don't feel that we should be judged too harshly on things we did a number of years ago, especially if during that time we were under the age of 18, for example. I mean, I obviously wasn't 4 years ago. I'm just as old as I look. Maybe I'm even older. Maybe I look even older than I am. I don't feel we should be judged too harshly, especially if there's contrition, if there's a sincere and heartfelt apology. I think that should be the end of the matter. It's not for me to tell any of our rivals how to do their job and what action they should take. What I would say is, given who I work for, it'd be very easy for me to join the kind of outrage against what's happened, and it'd be easy for me to lead the outrage and to be opportunistic about it. But at the end of the day, it could be any of us that work for these channels or anyone in the public eye. I mean, we're certainly not the most famous people out there, and anyone who's got a bit of scrutiny on them can have stuff dug up from their past that they're not proud of, and I know I certainly have, and I'd hate to see it used against me. All I can say from my point of view is that my previous role on Boxing News and now on Seconds Out, so far I've been here over a year, I've been shown nothing but loyalty, and I have tested my employer's patiences at times, and I can only appreciate that, and I hope the same courtesy is extended to my peer. I'll leave you with that, and I'll see you all next week, 4:30 PM for Reflections, and this Thursday, 4:30 PM for FLEXpectations. Always a pleasure, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you.